Well, I'm Knox Kroll, and the museum contacted me about doing these models. And they represent work for several years, actually, because I did two of these earlier, and then I'm working currently on a model of the courthouse and of the Mountain Lily Riverboat. So first of all, I was going to talk about these two earlier models that I've done. I'm trying to show the housing or abodes that the Indians would have used when they were here, and there have been signs of Indians being in the area, or I should say Native Americans being in the area for many years, maybe going back as far as 10,000 years. They found artifacts. There have been no signs of permanent residences in this area, such as mounds or anything, but I know that Henderson County has been used for hunting for quite a long period of time. So I did want to focus on what some of the Cherokee housing was like. And studies have shown that they had summer and winter houses. And I believe this is a Wasi, and that's an Asa, if I'm correct. Anyway, the summer house would have had probably a straw or grass or reed roof, and would have had wattled walls that would have been mud daubed on, again, to a woven stick siding, and the smoke would have risen through the roof. So this shows them repairing or building, either one. One thing of interest is I remember hearing about some of the Indians asked about the construction, and they said, well, how did you determine how to make your bedding, which is what these high mats would have been? And he said, well, it's just slightly higher than a flea could jump. So they had a little forethought and good reason to put that into place and use it. This would have been the winter abode, and by what I understand, they're quite dark and smoky, as you could imagine, because the smoke actually would have built up inside. I don't know if any of them ever had holes. I've never seen evidence of that, or whether the smoke just rose, lingered, and then came out the front door. And whether they had a covering or not, I'm, again, not 100% sure about that, but my guess is they probably would have had some sort of animal hide or woven material that would allow that to be slightly closed off. So that would enable them to have a fairly warm place to be in the winter. They would store some of the winter squashes, pumpkins and things of that nature inside to keep them away from the animals. Also, they did have corn cribs, which I did not bother to show here. There was another structure they had that would allow them to store corn on into the cooler weather. So get that out of the way. The other model here is an early settler's cabin. And I might add, from a modeling standpoint, I was able to find a few of these items as standard off-the-shelf things, but others had to be converted. The figures were actually military-related kits, where the figures, fortunately able to find some that I was able to alter to make them look like they belonged here. The cider press reminds me of one that I knew of as a child growing up, so it's very much based on that. And but the wheelbarrow was part of something I was able to find thanks to the internet. Of mild interest, the settlers did learn things from the Indians, and one thing was how to dry some of the foods that the Indians grew. On the Indian display, which I'm not really through with, they had three crops they called the Three Sisters, which was corn, beans, and squash. And here we have beans that would have been dried, and for preservation on into the winter. And these dry beans could then be put into soups or whatever as needed later. But they were called leather breeches, and the term was sort of negative because I imagine they chewed a lot like leather breeches would have at the time. So a little bit of humor there. I was able to, I don't know if there's any way to see any of this or not, but hopefully if you come by the museum you'll be able to look in. I tried to make the interior as close as I could according to what I could find out. And I based some of the cabin information on some of what was in the Foxfire books, and which gave me information on how to do some of the shingle work and some of the log work.
Now let's tilt her in so we can see the first floor through the roof opening there.
Sure.
So we got a good close-up there.
Okay.
All right.
And you can see there's a loft, ladder going up. Shotgun over the fireplace, cookware, quilted bed. It's a rather small place to be, but a lot of the early cabins were quite small. And obviously you probably want to get outside as soon as you could. And the term cabin fever, I think, meant a lot more to me after working on this. One in a small space could really go nuts in a hurry. One thing that I have that may or may not be accurate, and so maybe someone can tell me later, I do have a kerosene lantern in there, and if I'm correct, I believe kerosene started coming into use just prior to the Civil War. So this may be not entirely accurate. I'm not sure about that. Then again, I can always claim that the cabin is a bit later time period. So they've got an apple tree, and hopefully before this is put on display, I'll have some more tiny leaves that are more appropriate for the apple tree.